Hello, Dr. Shetlin here with the Whiplash Group, and I have a special guest this morning, attorney Craig Perry, who has organized an amazing business that helps with collections and personal injury without going after the patient, but actually just really leveraging the insurance to pay what they have been obligated to do.
Thank you very much. I was invited to join this group by Dr. Yen, who's been a client of mine for several years. So by way of background, my name is Craig Perry. I've been an attorney for an incredibly long time now. If you look back, it's been 35 years, 36 this October. And I've been in the personal injury space my entire career as an attorney. I began working for an insurance defense law firm. I don't know if any of you know or remember what happened in Las Vegas, Nevada in 1988 when there was an explosion of a rocket fuel plant called Pepcon. And that was my first introduction to personal injury litigation. We had a couple people die, a lot of property damage. So I started on that side of the fence in my career. And then within a couple of years, I said, I really want to represent injured people, not the insurance companies. And so I quickly switched sides, and with a friend of mine began our own law firm. And I've been doing personal injury or personal injury related tasks since that time.
So been in the business a long time, specializing in that Las Vegas area. But with this business that you have, that you've expanded into collections, this is a nationwide thing that you can do now rather than just a firm in Las Vegas.
It's kind of a spin-off from being an attorney and my years of interactions with basically primary care physicians and some pain management doctors. I've learned, to use the word pain again, some of the difficulties and pains of having a practice that is focused on personal injury. As a result of some of the complaints that I was hearing from my friends and colleagues, I decided to create a program that would allow me in a separate business to help doctors to get paid on cases where they had to normally turn those patients away. So to quote Dr. Yan, I hope he doesn't mind me doing this, but to quote Dr. Yan, when he first heard of the program, he said, "Why didn't I know about you 7 years ago? I could have used you." So it is separate and apart from my law practice. It does not require a law degree to run that practice. So I have other people who are working that now. Only if I have to sue somebody for non-payment does a law firm get involved. I'm in Nevada, so my area that I can sue people is in Nevada. But so what I've learned from talking to doctors is that doctors are getting squeezed from all directions: HMOs, PPOs, health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid. Rates are restricted. They try and beat you up on what they're going to pay. It's very restrictive. So those I've talked to are struggling and looking for additional sources of revenue. They want to be able to charge fair market prices for the services they render. One of the benefits of a personal injury practice is to overcome those issues. And in addition, they're benefiting from someone else securing the payment source, which is the law firm, since they're the ones who have the clientele or the patients. And then they're also kind of doing the marketing. I've been told by doctors that over time, a large portion of cases that they would normally see an injured party are now coming from lawyers, are not coming directly to the practice. And so there are a few, but those are some of the benefits of having a personal injury practice. But there's not without its challenges. First of all, you have unrep patients. I've had doctors tell me people walk in, they don't want a lawyer. And so they struggle for 45 minutes or an hour to try and convince them, because they need that med lien signed in order to collect against the casualty insurance companies like Allstate, like State Farm. And if they can't get them to sign the med lien and have an attorney co-sign it, then it's a problem getting paid. And you don't make that mistake very often. You may sign up an unrep patient once in your career and realize, I can't secure the payment source because they're going to give the money to the patient and not to me. And I've got to chase the patient now through collection. So that becomes a burden. In addition to that, as you know, you could be working along on a case. The lawyers refer the cases over right away to you. And then turns out that the insurance company says, well, we think your client's at fault or mostly at fault. And so they drop the claim. So there's that loss there. Drop cases by law firms. There may be other reasons that law firms drop cases. Could be a personality conflict or an overly demanding patient/client. That happens. Many of you know that some law firms specialize in just the settlement process in a PI case. And so if it comes to litigation, they refer that case out to another law firm, and then trying to get that other law firm to sign a medical lien, again, to secure your payment source, it can be difficult. And then there are some cases where, for whatever reason, sometimes the larger PI firms, and I've worked for those, they get real busy and they don't always sign the medical lien. So you're chasing, and your staff is chasing, just getting the lien signed so that you can feel secure when the case is settled, you're going to get paid. As you know, litigation cases, they take a long time. They can take 5-7 years to settle. So there are long waits to getting paid. And then if you can't get paid, if there's not enough insurance coverage or the case is dropped, now you're facing collections. And what happens with collections? Well, now you've got to go after the patient, and that might disrupt the relationship, and they may not be coming back to you for additional care as needed because you've had to hound them for money for past services rendered. So these are the basic challenges that I've heard over the years from my clients. So what we're doing with CaseMedix, we have a very clear purpose, which is to give medical providers new strategies to becoming more profitable. And trust me, this is going to be new. You've probably never heard this before, what we're about to present. Here are some of the holes we can plug in your practice. I use the image of, you load up the truck, you're doing all this work, and then it just falls out the back end. You're not getting paid for what you've done. We can now help you, depending upon where you live and where your practice is, we can help you to represent unrep patients who do not want an attorney directly from the casualty insurance companies. Believe it or not, on a drop cases, we oftentimes will get a call from a doctor saying the attorney dropped the case. But many times the insurance company is willing to just pay the medical bills even after the case is dropped. Maybe it was an exorbitant offer to settle, whatever the reasons were, they're still interested sometimes in paying the doctors for services, even after a law firm drops the case. We can make sure that the new law firm that takes on the litigation, that they are going to honor your requirement for payment, even if they don't sign the medical lien. We'll do the collection work basically, but we're not doing it, and this is a very important part of our model. We never pursue patients for payment. Our model is based on pursuing everybody but the client or patient for payment. So this allows...
That's a point, Craig, because there's some docs that are just uncomfortable, even though they deserve fair exchange for their services rendered, and they are working for the patient, not the insurance company. It puts docs in an uncomfortable position when they, like, look, you didn't cause the accident. Now the insurance is not helping. So to have an advocate for that niche, I think, is just so powerful. That's awesome.
It works out great. So here's a solution. Here's what we do. CaseMedix. First of all, we have proven protocols. I've been doing this for 12 years. This is not a new formula. We have proven protocols that create a legal obligation for the casualty insurance companies to pay directly for the doctor services, even when there's not a lawyer involved in the case. Well, there is I'm the lawyer, or our company is representing the doctor, but the patient still doesn't have anybody representing them. So it's kind of like this. If they're not going to get a lawyer, then you need to lawyer up and get legal tools that you can use to get paid. We also train your medical staff so they know what we need to enforce. Then we have a skilled staff at CaseMedix. They're highly trained, they're experienced, and we're persistent. That's one of our secret ingredients, is persistence with these companies. And frankly, as you know, there can be quite a bit of turnover in your office, or people not comfortable with going after patients or going after the insurance companies, or law firms. They lack the skills and the ability to do that, but we don't lack those skills. We've done it for many years now. So just to give you a quick timeline, in 1997, it was the first time I had a doctor tell me that unrep patients was becoming a growing problem or opportunity, but they can't get paid on those cases, so they would have to turn them away. In 2010 through 2012, I tried to help this one doctor to get paid by direct pay from these casualty companies. And it was really, I couldn't really enforce anything. The way he was approaching it and the tools he was using, it was hit and miss. It wasn't, and I wasn't charging him. I was just trying to help him out, seeing if I could figure it out. Well, he decided to file a lawsuit against one of these companies. I believe it was Farmers, and try and get paid and force this issue. So he hired a big well-known civil litigation firm in Nevada, and he went to task. So a couple years later, because I stopped doing this, a couple years later, I looked up case up online, and I saw that he had gotten a payment of $75,000. I thought, oh, that's great. I'm going to call him and congratulate him. So I called him and I said, hey, I see that you won your case. You got paid $75,000. It's in the notes in the court. That's great. He said, yeah, it's pretty good. I said, what did you pay to litigate it? What did it cost you? He said $150,000 to litigate. So he paid $150 to collect $75. Well, that's not a win. That's a major loss. So what I did is I said, okay, there's got to be a way to do this. So I went back and I looked at the laws and I looked at everything I could find. Now this was in Nevada, but I'll show you later it can be done elsewhere. And I said, there's got to be a way for me to make this happen. And so I came up after many hours of work and research with a strategy. And I was so confident that what I was saying would work that I approached a couple of people I'd done PI work with, some doctor networks. And I said, I think I got a way to help you with these unwrapped patients and the other situations that arise. And he said, we're on board. Let's try it. And I told him I would litigate it at no charge to see if I could do it. So the first case I filed was against State Farm, and then I filed against Allstate because they were ignoring our enforcement protocols. On both cases, I got a call from a lawyer. They paid the doctor's full bill. They paid my attorney's fees. And pretty much after that, I've never had to force anybody to follow our protocols and our legally enforceable documentation. So once I saw that it worked, we set up this company called GDP Consulting Inc. in 2016, which is Get Doctors Paid. That's what the GDP stands for. Mm-hmm. And then I had some doctors in Nevada who decided that they wanted to go other places. They said, can you do this in Missouri? Can you do it in Kansas? So I researched the law, and it's a different set of laws there, but it's a kind of a statutory hybrid. And sure enough, we could do it there too.
Fantastic.
So then I started thinking, well, how far can I take this nationwide? Because now it's not part of a law firm, which is locked into one state. This is a corporation that I can do this anywhere. And so I researched the different states. And by the way, we rebranded our company. Our DBA is CaseMedix. And we're going to be rolling out some additional services I'll talk about in a minute. But here's a map of only the red states are states where I don't think we can enforce our protocols. But all the other states we can. The green colors is, I researched every single state and their statutes and their codes and their case law. The ones that are in different colors like Oregon, North Dakota, Minnesota, those states have high PIP or personal injury protection. So I'm not sure if providers, need our program where primary care physicians can get paid. We call it MedPay in Nevada, but it's PIP in other states. So questionable whether they need it, but it is a good backstop in case like they go to the ER first and that eats up the entire bill or available money. Then there are the lower PIP states like Utah, Texas, Pennsylvania. And then there are some gray states that I couldn't find any law to support our protocols. Vermont, New Hampshire, and Delaware. Those are the ones in gray. But pretty much everywhere else, it appears that we can use this program. Have I litigated in any other state? No. But I've had no pushback from Missouri and Kansas with us enforcing on unwrapped cases. So the way it works is real simple. You sign up with the company, we train you, you use our forms, and then we will follow our protocols to ensure payment. Here are the results. I know it's going to be hard to believe, but we get the bill paid in full. And I'll show you an example in just a minute. You get quicker payments. If they're unwrapped, as soon as the treatment is done, we send it in and we get paid. I'm not saying that people shouldn't use a lawyer because I think they're entitled to pain and suffering. Some people don't care about that. They just want to get their bills paid. It's just a fact that I learned talking to various doctors. You get to outsource the enforcement. It isn't in-house anymore. And then you retain these clients, these patients for life. I know it's going to be hard to believe, but over 99% of the cases that we represent, we get full pay. The 1% are cases where there's not enough insurance money. like this is a 25,000 policy, and there's $50,000 in meds, so there has to be a proration of the money between the various providers or lenders. And so on those cases, the doctors don't get paid in full, but it's just because there's a constraint on the amount of available insurance. Let me give you an example now of how this works. Let's say you have an unrepped client, the adverse party rear-ended a client, and the carrier was State Farm. And let's say that your bill for your treatment is $5,000. So we will get State Farm to pay the full amount, $5,000, every time, except for the one exception if there's not enough insurance to go around for all the providers. Our fee is 30% of the bill, so you would net $3,500 on a case that you used to have to turn away.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out to the docs that are watching this, because if you go to a collection company, it's going to be 40 or 50% anyway. So that's still better margins for these cases where the patient just doesn't want to have an attorney involved. Rather than using collections, you're going after the insurance, not the patient, and the insurance is paying. I think it's a beautiful setup. Sorry.
It works out. No, thank you. Works out great. So let's say you had 3 cases like this a month that were unwrapped that you couldn't get to sign up with an attorney. That would be an additional $10,500 a month. That's $126,000 extra a year that you could make instead of letting those people walk out the door. And we don't charge a fee if there's no recovery. Okay, it's contingent on getting the money in. Okay, let me just answer 2 typical questions I get. If the client already has an attorney, then you don't need us. But we still want you to use our forms, because if you use our forms, then if the attorney drops the case, refers the case out to an uncooperative law firm, or if for some strange reason they don't ever sign the med-lien initially, we can still step in and enforce payment. So again, it's kind of a safety net for you. But we're not, as you notice, we're not interfering with your relationship with the law firm. You know, I wouldn't want that as a PI attorney. These are things where the law firm has stepped out of the picture or hasn't done their job to protect you that we step in to enforce. So it doesn't really affect any relationship with the lawyers. No lawyer should have a problem with you using this program, except maybe they want you to arm twist everybody to get a lawyer. But I'm telling you 2 things. One is some people are adamant. And number 2, we do have a huge attrition in our practice. We have a lot of people who don't get a lawyer, and then later on they decide to get a lawyer. And that's going to cover on the second point. What if they decide to get an attorney? Well, guess what? We'll just waive our fee. We don't ask for payment. Even if we've already done our job, followed the protocols, and done everything, we don't want to get in the way of your relationship with an attorney. And the attrition's pretty high, actually. We're still able to make a pretty good profit and not, disband the program. But I'd say, 40% of the people who are unrepped wind up getting repped. So, we just have to face that fact. We've not charged anything for the work we've done up front. I don't plan on doing that. But just so you know, we're going to just step out of the way. So when we hear, hey, patient got a lawyer, we're like, okay, that's fine. We'll back away.
Well, Craig, I just want to point out to the Whiplash Group members and our tribe that do these trainings and meet people like yourself through our program. You align perfectly with our values, because we're all about income's a byproduct of service. So just give outstanding service. We don't have to wring money out of people or the insurance. We just do a great job, and it comes back, and we get that law of reciprocity where things just come back to us because we're doing the right things and taking care of each other. So I really admire your business model on this. Is right up our alley.
Well, I do have one large network of doctors who said, hey, we want you to charge us when you drop a case because we know how much work you do for us. So on that one case, because they offered it, we started charging a little bit, every month for the drop case, the ones that got a lawyer. But it's not part of our business plan. But I did appreciate the gesture because there is a bit of time and effort that goes into enforcement.
Yeah, that's okay. Nice. And it's nice. That to me shows me that the docs are good too. They value your time.
Exactly. Okay, so let's just summarize here real quickly. You can add a new stream of income to your practice if you use this program. There's no cost to join. You sign up patients you normally would have turned away if they were unrepped. You can maintain your relationships with attorneys you work with, and of course your patients. We secure the payment source directly from the casualty insurance companies. It's really fun, by the way, because there's such a mentality of these adjusters, like, we don't have to pay you. We can ignore you. We're gonna give the money to the client. No, you can't. And we've had many adjusters have to learn the hard way when we get their supervisor involved, and they beg and plead, please in the future, make sure that doesn't happen to me again. Ring my bell. Don't call my supervisor. They get in trouble because they have to pay out twice. Okay, if they give the money to the patient, that's your money, they get in trouble, and they've got to pay twice. In most cases, we've been able to get them to pay 100% of your bill. They're not allowed to argue with us and say, well, we think the treatment should have been, only $3,500. You charge $5,000. None of that enters into they can't do that in our program. It doesn't work the way it's set up. You maintain the relationship with your client, and then if there's any unforeseen changes, we've got you covered if you contact us.
Craig, I just want to circle back to, because you brought it up, and I don't want to slip under the radar here. So if they send the money to the patient, because now we have to go take the patient to collections because they got the money that they weren't supposed to get. But with your program, you can actually go after the insurance and go, that was your mistake, insurance company. You still owe the doctor, and you can actually get them to pay that.
100%. 100%.
Wow.
It's all about how you legally structure it. They get in trouble because, in fact, what I sued them for in my first lawsuit was conversion. Now that's a nice legal word for theft. You stole my doctor's money. It wasn't your right to steal it. You got to give him his money back. And I was even asking for punitive damages because theft is a punitive crime. So yeah, the word got out. The word got out among the adjusters. When we come knocking, you can't ignore the demand for payment. Okay, just one last thing real quick. For repped and unrepped patients, for those that want it, it won't be the same percentage. It'll be a lot less percentage. But if somebody doesn't want to even manage with do the medical lien management for their company, we're going to provide an online service where you can upload documents, and we'll just use our people to, call the attorneys and say, hey, give us a status. If they want to call for reductions, which is very typical in the PI business, then, you can give us your parameters and we'll deal with those issues. So this is our website, CaseMedix.com. If a person signs up, then there's a member portal. And when they log in, then they get this kind of a screen. It's going to say you have status reports. You can find out the status of our cases. You can upload the documents we need to use to enforce payment, etc. So it's going to all be this database is in beta, and but we're going to offer for those who want, if they wanted to have complete management of unrepped and repped cases, we can step in and do that for a substantially reduced fee.
Very nice. Great system you've got set up, and obviously with 12 years of building it to this point, that's fantastic.
All right. Well, did you have any questions, or if anyone has a question? I've got Tyron on this call. Tyron is my office manager. She's been with me for 20 years, if you can believe it. And awesome. Her mother worked for me before that. So her family's been a great service to my law firm, and she knows this program like the back of her hand because, she's been there since the beginning and does a lot of the training of the new staff members that we have. So anyway, her number is 702-893-4777. Her name is Tyron, little different name, Tyrin as in Nancy, and we'll get you set up. What we usually do is look at your current practices and protocols, look at the forms that you use, make substantial changes to those forms, and then train your staff on how to use them so that those unrepped clients, you can snag them now and not let them walk out the door.
Okay. When people reach out to you, easy to sign up. It looks like from what you've shown in the slides, it seems like you're working well with other attorneys so that you're not, that's another important thing. One of our other mantra in the Whiplash Group is we're not competition, we're co-opetition. We're all working together. The rising tide floats all boats. There's plenty of business out there for all of us. We just got to work together rather than trying to work competing with each other. So appreciate your style on that as well. So please, people, reach out with questions for Craig and for Tyron. And I just had some questions for you in certain states. So if in another state somebody has a problem where, hey, this patient was represented, they fired their attorney and now they want to represent themselves, definitely a good case to get you guys involved, correct?
Depends on the the state at which the case is in.
Okay.
You know, but yes, definitely we can represent them when the attorney drops the case.
Mm-hmm.
To tell you the truth, the attorney dropping the case is not a common scenario, but it's definitely when we can step in and help, as long as it's not too late.
Okay.
Too late could mean, well, if the client accepted the money, we could, I mean, it's got to be before they accept any money, first of all. The doctor has to get the client back in to sign different set of forms. Unless they use our program from the beginning, then we already have the forms we need and we just activate. So if they have a lawyer, we have our form ready to go. And then if the lawyer drops the case, we get a phone call from the doctor and boom, we send our form out saying, you're not dealing with that attorney anymore, you're dealing with us, with CaseMedix.
Which is why it'd be easier to just have your forms as regular forms in the beginning.
Right.
When
because there's no obligation. There's no obligation until it's activated.
Sure.
And the activation is if the lawyer drops the case, then we can use our forms right away to notify the casualty insurance company and begin enforcement.
Yeah. When I was in practice, we had it where if the patient didn't sign up with an attorney within a month, they became a cash patient, which of course then drives them out because they're like, well, I don't want to pay. That didn't cause this accident. So to have your paperwork in there involved, and it's like, all right, they just simply do not want to have an attorney involved. At least we have a safety net as the doctor's office to still be taken care of. I think it's beautiful.
Exactly.
Well, Craig, Tyron, I want to thank you both for joining us today. And I hope that our Whiplash Group members and some of our other tribe members reach out to you so we can start getting you plugged into other states, helping doctors maintain those healthy relationships with their patients while actually getting paid fair exchange from the insurance companies as they deserve for the medical services that they provide. So thank you for your time and your talents in building such a wonderful business today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.